The 2035 engine ban, a pillar of Europe's climate agenda, is collapsing. In just 2 years, relentless pressure from Volkswagen, Ford, and others forced a dramatic rethink, as factory closures and 86,000 job losses turned targets into political poison. If lawmakers abandon the ban, who pays the price, and what unexpected path could replace it? Volkswagen, Stellantis, Ford, Mercedes, BMW, and Porsche, 6 of the world's most influential car makers, stood together against the 2035 engine ban. Their message arrived in boardrooms and government offices across Europe. The current plan was unworkable. Each manufacturer submitted statements to the European Commission and to national ministries, citing missed electric vehicle targets and the threat to their global competitiveness. Volkswagen warned of deep structural risks and referenced the 35,000 jobs on the line. Stellantis pointed to the rising tide of Chinese imports and a shrinking market for affordable cars. Ford's leadership called for flexibility, arguing that a single technology mandate ignored customer needs and regional realities. Mercedes and BMW, both members of ACEA, the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, echoed calls for a technology-neutral approach, one that would allow hybrids, sustainable fuels, and low-carbon solutions alongside battery electric vehicles. Porsche, investing heavily in synthetic fuels, urged lawmakers not to shut the door on combustion engines that could run clean. These 6 giants, responsible for millions of vehicles and hundreds of thousands of jobs, were no longer asking politely. They were lobbying in unison, with coordinated press releases, open letters, and behind-the-scenes meetings. The scale of this revolt left policymakers with a stark choice: adapt the rules or risk a collapse of Europe's industrial backbone. In Germany, the numbers are impossible to ignore. More than 51,000 automotive jobs are at risk, with Volkswagen alone warning of 35,000 possible redundancies if the original engine ban went ahead. These are not just figures on a spreadsheet. Each job lost means families facing uncertainty and communities losing their economic heartbeat. In the UK, factory closures have already begun to reshape entire towns. Once busy gates now stand locked while workers gather outside with nowhere left to go. Headlines speak of a crisis, but on the ground it is personal. Skilled engineers, line workers, and suppliers all caught in the fallout. The collapse in new car registrations has sent shockwaves through dealerships and logistics firms, leaving transporters idle and showrooms empty. Local economies that relied on steady production and export now struggle to adapt. The pain is not limited to the shop floor. Small businesses, cafes, and schools feel the strain as spending dries up. For decades, the auto industry has been a pillar of European prosperity. Now, uncertainty hangs over entire regions. These losses are not theoretical. They are happening in real time, and the cost is measured in livelihoods as much as in lost output. The pressure for change is no longer just about boardrooms and balance sheets. It is about the survival of communities that built Europe's industrial strength. Apartment dwellers face a different reality when it comes to electric vehicles. Without private driveways or garages, charging overnight is off the table. Public chargers, already stretched thin, mean long waits or early morning scrambles just to top up. For families who tow caravans or horse boxes, the range drop is hard to ignore, especially on holiday weekends when queues at motorway services stretch for hours. Survey data from 2025 shows that while 90% of new electric vehicle owners with home charging report satisfaction, only 10% of those relying on public infrastructure say the same. These numbers are not just statistics, they are a snapshot of daily frustration. Many drivers now weigh up the cost and hassle, then choose to hold on to older petrol or diesel cars, even as incentives disappear. The European Commission's December 16, 2025 proposal did not come out of nowhere. Lawmakers reviewed these user realities and saw the gap between policy and practice. That is why the new automotive package does not demand a perfect score. Instead, it requires a 90% cut in carbon dioxide emissions for new cars by 2035, measured against 2021 levels. The final 10% can be offset using sustainable fuels or certified low-carbon materials, an explicit nod to those who cannot make the electric vehicle switch work. The text of the package cites flexibility for diverse mobility needs and references consumer feedback from across the EU. The rules now reflect a compromise. Keep pushing for cleaner air, but do not leave millions of drivers behind. Policy decisions in Brussels rarely stay within the EU borders. The UK, deeply tied into the European supply chain, faces its own reckoning. Nearly 60% of UK-built cars are exported to the EU, and British factories rely on seamless access to European parts and markets. Any divergence from EU emissions rules risks tariffs, customs bottlenecks, and the loss of long-standing trading privileges. Trade analysts call it a fragile balance, one that leaves little room for independent moves. When the European Commission softened the 2035 target, industry leaders across the UK warned that staying out of step would threaten billions in exports and thousands of jobs. Government documents from 2025 echo these worries, highlighting the risk of supply chain disruptions and stranded investment if the UK tries to go it alone. For British automakers, the message is clear. Policy alignment is not just about climate targets, it is about survival in a global market. But the threat is not limited to Europe. China has ramped up production, flooding global markets with low-cost electric vehicles. In 2025, Chinese brands shipped over 1.2 million electric vehicles to Europe, capturing nearly 1/5 of new electric vehicle registrations. Ports in Rotterdam and Felixstowe now process shiploads of unfamiliar badges, BYD, NIO, and XPeng, at prices legacy firms cannot match. The European Commission has opened investigations into alleged subsidies, but the pace of imports shows no sign of slowing. Analysts warn that without flexible rules and a level playing field, Europe and the UK risk losing not just market share, but their entire manufacturing base. The stakes are no longer just about what powers a car, but who gets to build it and where those jobs will go next. Sustainable fuels cover a wide spectrum, but they share one key advantage. They are compatible with existing engines. Analysts group them into three main categories: HVO, or hydrotreated vegetable oil, e-fuels, and advanced biofuels. HVO is produced from waste oils or animal fats. E-fuels are made by combining green hydrogen with captured carbon dioxide, creating synthetic gasoline or diesel. Advanced biofuels rely on non-food biomass, like agricultural residues or municipal waste. All are designed as drop-in replacements, meaning most drivers would not need to change a single part under the hood. The environmental impact depends on the feedstock. Fuels made from waste oils or renewable electricity can cut life-cycle carbon dioxide emissions by as much as 80%, according to studies from ICCT and the EU Joint Research Centre. But that figure is not universal. Crop-based biofuels often deliver much lower savings, sometimes less than half, due to land use change or fertilizer emissions. Real-world averages fall between 60 and 80%, depending on how and where the fuel is made. The upshot: the right feedstock and process matter as much as the fuel itself. Motorsport has become the proving ground for sustainable fuels. Formula One will run on 100% net zero carbon fuel from 2026, with all teams required to use blends derived from non-food biomass or captured carbon. The World Rally Championship already mandates advanced drop-in fuels, delivering more than 70% carbon dioxide savings compared to traditional petrol. At Le Mans, every car in the 24-hour classic now runs on a mix of e-fuels and advanced biofuels. The British Touring Car Championship switched its entire grid to sustainable fuel blends in 2024, logging thousands of competitive miles without a single engine change. These are not small pilot projects. Hundreds of race cars, millions of kilometers, and no loss of performance. Away from the track, BMW now fills every new European diesel with HVO 100, a renewable fuel made from waste oils, cutting life cycle emissions by up to 90%. Porsche has an e-fuel plant in southern Chile that has begun shipping synthetic petrol, produced using wind power and captured carbon, with plans to scale to tens of millions of liters each year. Motorsport and industry have shown what is possible. But while these advances are real, the story is not about picking winners. It is about expanding options, not closing doors. Europe's car future is not a single answer. As lawmakers pivot to tech neutrality and sustainable fuels, real innovation starts now. Because climate targets remain, and the world still needs solutions that work for everyone. The road ahead is open, and every choice counts. What is your take?